Consequences of actions roll on relentlessly, and the past can't be undone, and the consequences in the future can rarely be foreseen. Jehoshaphat had loved the Lord intently, but he had also wanted to make peace with his northern neighbour, and so he married his son Jehoram to Ahab's daughter Athaliah to make an alliance. Now Jehoshaphat has died, and Jehoram became king. He promptly killed all his brothers, so that there were no claimants and threats to the throne. He reigned for 8 years, and instead of teaching the people about the Lord as his father had done, he taught them about Baal because of the influence of his wife. His position was secure because the Lord had made a covenant with David, which the Lord in his faithfulness will never break, that David would always have a son to reign on the throne. So what was the Lord to do? The neighbours rebelled against Jehoram. The Edomites, the Arabs, the Philistines, they all turned away from him. Elijah, the prophet of Israel, who had pronounced against Ahab, wrote him a letter. Elijah tells him, "You'll become sick with a disease of your intestines until your intestines come out by reason of the sickness, day by day." And so it happened. He died a slow and painful death because of this disease, over 2 years. He was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years, and to no one's sorrow departed. Then the inhabitants of Jerusalem made Ahaziah, his youngest son, king in his place, for the raiders who came with the Arabians into the camp had killed all the other sons. So Ahaziah the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, reigned. Ahaziah was 42 years old when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri. He also walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother advised him to do wickedly. Therefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for they were his counsellors after the death of his father, to his destruction. He also followed their advice, and went with Jehoram the son of Ahab king of Israel to war against Hazael king of Syria at Ramoth-Gilead. And the Syrians wounded Joram. Then he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds which he had received at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael king of Syria. And Ahaziah the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Jehoram the son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was sick. His going to Joram was God's occasion for Ahaziah's downfall. For when he arrived, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu the son of Nimshi, whom the Lord had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it happened, when Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, and found the princes of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers who served Ahaziah, that he killed them. Then he searched for Ahaziah, and they caught him. He was hiding in Samaria, and brought him to Jehu. When they had killed him, they buried him, because, they said, he is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought the Lord with all his heart. So the house of Ahaziah had no one to assume power over the kingdom. Now when Athaliah the mother of Ahaziah saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal heirs of the house of Judah. But Jehoshabeath, the daughter of the king, took Joash the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being murdered, and put him and his nurse in a bedroom. So Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the priest, for she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from Athaliah, so that she did not kill him. And he was hidden with them in the house of God for 6 years, while Athaliah reigned over the land. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we see these dark days that came upon Judah. In the world, it's common for people to fight for control, and this is what is happening. Since the division of Israel into north and south, the north has been seeking control of the south. They'd had some major battles, but while the king of the south had trusted in the Lord, the north could not succeed. It was only when there was an alliance of friendship that the door opened for the north to win. And this is what is happening. Jehoshaphat had arranged for Jehoram his son, the heir to the throne of Judah, to marry Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, the sister of Ahab, king of Israel. There's a little bit of confusion here because we have two kings named Jehoram. One is king of Israel and one is king of Judah. Jehoram, king of Israel, is Athaliah's brother or nephew. Jehoram, king of Judah, being Jehoshaphat's son, is Athaliah's husband. But he hasn't walked in the ways of the Lord, and as we said, the Lord caused him to die a slow and painful death, and his son Ahaziah was made king. There are a very few places in the Old Testament where there appears to be a contradiction, and here is one of them. For the Masoretic text says that Ahaziah was 42 when he became king, but it has just said his father was only 40 years old. In 2 Kings, we're given his age as 22. Many in the royal family had been killed, even by his own father. Under his mother's advice, he took counsel from the kings of Israel, his mother's relatives. He went to visit his uncle, King Jehoram of Israel, who had been wounded in a battle for Ramoth-Gilead, which was where Ahab had fallen. But the kings of Israel had not let up on that issue. Jehoram was wounded, Ahaziah went to see him, and this was the time when Jehu was wiping out the house of Ahab. Ahaziah got caught up in that and was also killed, as well as many other members of his royal family. He was still young, and he only reigned a year, and so there was no one to take his place as king of Judah. His father wiped out all his uncles. Jehu had killed the princes of Judah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers who served Ahaziah, and so Athaliah, Ahaziah's mother, assumes the throne, and immediately kills all the royal heirs, any of her grandchildren or anyone else who had some claim on the throne. But she missed one baby, for Jehoshabeath, the daughter of King Jehoram, presumably Athaliah's daughter, stole one of the babies, Joash, away from among those who were being murdered, and hid him in the temple for 6 years. He is the sole survivor of the royal line, descended from Jehoshaphat. So we have Queen Athaliah, now in charge of Judah, opposed to the God of Israel, having wiped out all the remaining descendants of Jehoshaphat. But she missed one, because God has the final say, and God made a promise to David. Because Jehoshabeath did not support her murderous scheme. All this murder and mayhem has flowed from Jehoshaphat's attempt to make peace with the house of Ahab by marrying his son to Ahab's sister, Athaliah. He didn't envisage the consequences of this compromise. And so Paul warns us in Ephesians not to give ground to the enemy, to Satan, to the devil, because give him an inch and he will take a mile. But Athaliah cannot have the final say. Jehoiada the priest and Jehoshabeath his wife carefully hide the child for 6 years in the temple.